Hello, quiche. We're gonna make today quiche Lorraine. Well, I'm gonna put a couple of extra ingredients. Quiche Lorraine is usually just bacon, eggs, bacon or ham, eggs, some cream, and a pie crust. It's like a tart. It's a French tart, but made with eggs. So to start this dish, you need a pie crust. So we're gonna make our own pie crust. I'm gonna show you how to do a pie crust, but this is not gonna be a sweet pie crust. It's gonna be a pie crust we don't put sugar in. You can add a little sugar because sometimes in pie crust, when you're doing pies and stuff, you could add some sugar in it. But today we're not gonna add sugar. So we got a pie crust. We got to make sure that it's cool. So I'm just gonna keep that in the fridge. Make sure it's cold at all times. So our pie crust is gonna have some flour, some lard, um, butter, salt, and some flour. I have my flour over here. So this is going to be all the elements of a pie crust. Then my recipe over here for my filling is going to be some heavy cream, eggs, uh, bacon. I'm gonna add, probably this is not the traditional recipe. I'm gonna add a little bit of garlic. I like garlic. Some onions in there. I like some onions, and we have some different type of onions here too. Obviously, this is gonna go inside, maybe to give it a little colorful look in it. The green of the chives, and then with the green onions, I'm gonna cut them on a long bias and make them like a garnishing element in the end. And I have some creme fraiche that we'll probably put a little dollop of creme fraiche on the top because creme fraiche is very refreshing. It's not sweet. It's basically like a sour cream, but not as bitter as a sour cream. Very creamy, light, and has a nice little smooth flavor to it. Not too overpowering, not overpowering at all. So what we're going to start with is by starting to heat up our pan and get our bacon cut and our onions. So we're gonna saute. We're gonna cook our bacon fully. I got a thick cut piece of bacon here. I'm gonna dice this up. And then while that's cooking, we're going to start our pie crust. This can be considered a lardon. A lardon is basically, like a thick piece cut of bacon. So I like this one because it is basically it's thick. You don't lose it. Thinner pieces of bacon, you kind of lose the pieces inside of a recipe if it's too thin. Just gonna wipe this down. It really doesn't matter. The surface be it's raw, but that's all right. It doesn't matter because everything is going in here. This onion is gonna go in there too. So just a small dice. Let my bacon cook off a little bit before I add my onion because I don't want my onion to get too dark. Got my food processor there. Okay, I think I could add my onion now. So I'm just gonna put on a glove because what I'm gonna do is with my pie crust, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hand mix in the butter because the easy way I found to do it is to process it in a food processor. But a pie crust, the best pie crust you can have is a pie crust that is not overworked. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hand mix the butter in a little bit, and then you need some ice water, about a half a cup of ice water. So what we're gonna do is salt in there, my butter, and my lard, and I'll hand mix this in a little bit just to get it started, and then I'll put it into my food processor and just pulse it for a few seconds, uh, and while I'm adding the water to it. So this is gonna probably when you finish mixing it with your hand, it's probably going to be sort of like a cornmeal texture. But I try to do this so like that in my food processor, I'm not constantly blending it to try to get all the ingredients mixed in. Right here is basically almost mixed in. And then my food processor will bring it together with just a few spins. But you definitely, the flakiest pie crust is the one that's least worked. Okay, there you go. Move this out of the way. See, I put my oven at 350 to get that going to heat up. Now, so I got ice water, approximately about half a cup of ice water. Let me take a look. This I can shut off. That's ready to go. Okay. My pie crust is ready. Okay, this surface is clean. Okay, so now a little flour to bring it together. A little bit of flour to bring it together. And that's it. You got your pie crust and it's not overworked. You don't want that to be overworked. And plus, if you keep working it with your hands too much, the heat from your hands is going to melt the butter. You don't want the butter or the lard to melt. So here you will put this in a pan or bowl. And you cover that up with some plastic wrap. I'm just going to put it in the cooler. And I'm going to pull out mines that I have already made. So this is a small portion. It's probably about a quarter portion of what I have put in the cooler there, what we made. So this here flour, basically it's going to be square because usually it's for quiche. You don't have to use a pie mold, but you know it's traditionally they made it in a pie mold. So, but it's not set in stone. Apply a nice amount of flour. So like that, it doesn't stick. Bottom, top, on your roll. Work it side to side. I think that's the side. So make it easy and so you don't break it. And that's why it's always good to keep it cool. Put a little bit of pan spray so it'll stick. So off the edges and you can work it in where it's needed. Try to make it as even as you can, but obviously it doesn't need to be perfect. Just making sure that my oven is ready, warmed up. So what you do is you pre-cook this. You put something to hold it down. Usually it's like beans or dry beans, something to hold it down. Pre-cook it. So I'm gonna put this in the oven to pre-cook it, and then I'm gonna start my quiche, the egg mixture. Beans on the bottom to weigh it down, and in the oven. Pre-cook it from anywhere from 7 to 10 minutes. So now make my egg mixture. So I got 5 eggs. Well, I'm gonna make it 6. I'm gonna do one more. My cream. It's probably about a cup, maybe a cup and a quarter of cream. You want to add some salt and pepper. Whisk this. Then we add our bacon and onions with the bacon fat. So that's what's going to give it a nice flavor. And then we add our chives. It's going to give it a brief taste. Touch more salt. We can add our garlic here because it's going to get cooked up. It's just a very small amount. So what I do is with my green onion, I try to cut them on an elongated angle. So you're going to get long strips like that. Probably the first few won't be, but after the first few you'll get the long ones. So once we get this into the oven, it's going to be around 30 to 40 minutes until it's done. Okay, my crust is ready to go. I already preheated it 10 minutes. What I forgot to tell you was that we have to puncture with fork, make a few little puncture holes in the bottom so the air doesn't make it crimp up. And then we put our beans on the bottom. So this is my crust already pre-cooked. Here's my egg mixture. And all I do, just pour it in. And we put this in the oven for, like I said, 30 to 40 minutes. And we'll be done. So I'll be right back once this is done. Okay, my quiche is done. Been out the oven. I let it cool down for about an hour. So, because it's not good to manipulate any kind of dishes that are warm, especially when, like if it's an egg dish, lasagnas and things like that. They usually tend to do better when they're cooled down a little. So we're going to cut. And here we go. Here goes my plate. And just a little bit of the creme fraiche. Let's just put that on the side. Very nice. It's a balance of the fats, of the bacon, the salt, and the creaminess from the cream. Very nice. This will complement it very well. The creme fraiche. You can cut it up into smaller pieces, serve it as an appetizer. But this is the dish. It's a quiche. My name is Chef Luis Cortez, owner of Save the Gather Personal Chef Services. And until next time, thank you very much.